from the betting capital of the world, giving raw and real breakdowns of mixed martial arts and recapping UFC events like no one else, with producer Marcin on the ones and twos and combat sports betting expert Effie. You're listening to Any Action Sportscast. Any Action Sportscast. So put your headphones on and let's take this podcast to the next level.
This isn't a podcast. It's a sportscast.
What is up, guys? We are back. It's your boy Effie with Any Action Sportscast, here to go over UFC Vegas 68.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Derrick Lewis versus Serghei Spivac. We're coming off a very good weekend where our picks went 11-4 and our bets went 5-1 for positive 4.98 units. It was a good card for us, and you know we're going to keep the results going here at UFC Vegas 68. It's not the best card, I will say, but there is a ton of spots for violence, guys. I think a lot of these fights are going to be finishing before that final bell goes off. And yeah, man, I am actually really pumped for this card. It's supposed to happen in South Korea, but now it's moved to the Apex, and it's all right. Do me a favor, guys. Before we get into the fights, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, man. We need to get our numbers up. I feel like we've been doing this for a while. We're pushing out good results, and we need to get those numbers up, man. Tell your homies, tell your friends about this show, man. I really appreciate everyone that watches and leaves comments on our shows weekly. You guys are awesome. Without any further ado, let's get right into this card. UFC Vegas 68, Spivac versus Lewis. In the main event at UFC Vegas 68, we have a heavyweight banger between Derrick the Black Beast Lewis and Serghei the Polar Bear Spivac. Now, the guy with the most knockouts in UFC history, Derrick Lewis, actually finds himself as a plus 190 underdog in this fight to Serghei Spivac, coming in as a minus 230 favorite. First things first, we have to talk about how this is a rescheduled fight. These guys were supposed to fight in November, and on fight night of all, times to do it, Derrick Lewis had to pull out during the card. It was wild, man. We were watching the fights, and it comes down that Derrick Lewis has to pull out with some sort of health event. And we never really found the issue or what the reason was for him to pull out. But, they rebooked the fight. Obviously, it wasn't that serious, and here we are. I will say, guys, Derrick Lewis is 37 years old, and Spivac is 28. There's a significant age gap here. And Lewis's birthday is actually coming up. He's going to be 38 here soon. He's getting older in age, and unfortunately, he finds himself as a resident of Fade City. Now, I will say, I'm not going to be betting on Spivac here. Minus 230 against Derrick Lewis in the Apex? No way. The last time we saw a guy, try to go in there and grapple Derrick Lewis to a win, he got his head sent through the roof in Curtis Blades. Chris Dawkins, got pieced up and knocked out too. But the other three fights in his last 5 fights, Derrick is losing to top tier guys. Serghei, fought for the belt and won. Tybura was getting close to a title shot. And then the last guy, Serghei Pavlovich, that guy is a freak. That guy's a monster. Sure enough, going to be fighting for a belt one day here soon too. So his recent losses, I understand he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, Derrick Lewis, but he's losing to top tier guys. I'm not saying Spivac isn't one of them, but dude, his wins are not against that good of opponents, man. Augusto Sakai, not that good. Vandera was a close fight. I mean, Greg Hardy, come on, Greg Hardy would die against Derrick Lewis. And even Greg Hardy was landing on Spivac, snapped his head back a couple of times. But man, I don't know. I don't feel confident enough at all to lay minus 230 in the Apex, where Derrick Lewis is 3-0. And dude, his last 2 wins in the Apex against Dawkins and Blades were so vicious. I'm just not getting in front of it. He's so low volume that it doesn't matter, because all he takes is one punch to get you out. And in that 24th minute, in that 50th second of that minute, he's live to knock you out still, man. I will say, he is not reacting now later in his career well to body shots. And it seems to really hurt him when you go to the body and put him out. So maybe we'll see Spivac try to do that. But I don't expect Spivac to try to shoot for takedowns in the open. I mean, you all saw what happened to Curtis Blades. After Curtis Blades had, some success in that first round on the feet, the first takedown he shoots in the second round, he gets his head blasted through the roof. And I'm high on Curtis Blades, guys. And so I don't think that, well, that's not really how Spivac gets his takedowns anyway, but I think that he's going to try to pressure Derrick along the cage and clinch up and get a body-lock trip. I think that's how he's going to get him down. And it's going to be tough, because if you're trying to close the distance against Derrick Lewis, dude, that's dangerous. You got to have good head movement, and you can't afford to get even side clipped. Now, you don't have to land flush for Derrick Lewis to knock you out. He could barely clip you, and he could put you out. Dude has unreal power, most knockouts in the UFC. Man, I'm just not sold on Spivac yet. I need to see him get this win, and then maybe in his next fight, I'll be wagering on him. But at minus 230 against Derrick Lewis, I don't care if he's fading 38 years old, 40 years old. I understand Spivak's probably going to win this fight. Probably going to win inside the distance. but I'm not putting him on any parlays. I'm not betting him straight up money line. Give me Spivac to win via ground and pound finish in round 2. Man, good luck with you guys if you bet on Spivac, and it should be an exciting fight for as long as it lasts. In the co-main event, we have a light heavyweight fight between Jung and Devin Clark. Jung comes in with a 15-3-1 record, while Devin Clark comes in with a 13-7 record. Jung rightfully finds himself as a minus 230 favorite, while Devin Clark comes in as a plus 190 underdog. Jung will be 3 years younger than Clark here, at 4 inches of height and 3.5 inches of reach over Devin Clark here. I'm all over Jung in this fight. I think he's going to win this fight, and I already parlayed him at minus 230 with another fighter. Now, I will say, this card was supposed to happen in South Korea. Now, I know you don't like to bet your make your picks or bets off narratives, but come on. They wanted to promote their Asian fighters 100%. Just like they did in Brazil. They booked Brazilian fighters and gave them somewhat favorable matchups to try to promote them in their fan base in that area of the world. And that's happening here, guys. I don't want to say it's a setup fight, but they're putting Jung in the co-main event to knock out Devin Clark. There is no way they booked this fight thinking, okay, Clark has a chance to win. They expect him to get blasted here, and I think that's what's going to happen. It's funny, though, because we actually saw Jung get blasted in the last fight by Dustin Jacoby, and he was looking well in that fight before it happened, man. I did have money on Jacoby, but I expected that fight to be really close. I respect Jung's game, especially his striking, a lot. And sure enough, he was doing good in that fight. And he started fighting really stupid, man. It was weird to see. He was like putting his hands down, sticking out, doing this thing with his hands like, hey. And then boom, gets knocked out for it right away. So essentially, all he has to do is worry about keeping this fight on the feet. Devin Clark's going to be trying at will for 15 minutes to try to get Jung down. And I worry that he doesn't have the cardio to do it. I think that Jung's going to be able to exploit that gas tank from Clark, you know, trying to get those takedowns over and over and over again. He might tire himself out and have Jung lighting him up late in this fight. And now another thing, I love his size in this fight. He's going to be the bigger fighter in this fight. He's a pretty good skill set, especially defensive and offensive grappling. I really liked his grappling against William Knight. And obviously we saw he has an elite, super dangerous clinch. I want to buy elite, but he has a dangerous clinch the way he finished in Jeku. So give me Jung to win via second round knockout and just have his way against Devin Clark. I think that the UFC put him in this spot to get us a highlight reel finish. I think that's where we're going to get. Give me Jung via second round knockout, and the violence on this card continues. Up next, we have a heavyweight fight between Marcin Tybura and Blagoy Ivanov. Tybura currently sits as a minus 155 favorite, while Blagoy comes in as a plus 130 underdog. Tybura will be 37 years old in this fight, while Blagoy will be 36, both older heavyweights. Marcin will be a significantly bigger fighter in this fight, as he is 6'3" compared to Blagoy's 5'11", and have a 5-inch reach advantage over Ivanov. Now, first things first, we gotta mention how durable both these guys are. Nobody can finish Blagoy. In his 6 UFC fights, all 6 have gone to decision. And hell, you see the stab wound on his chest. The guy got stabbed in the heart and lived. He's still fighting. This is insane. I mean, what more can you say? It's like a complete, like, I'm not joking. That's real. That's insane. On the other side, you have Marcin Tybura, who, man, you want to talk about parlay buster. He crushed me, man. I was actually at his last fight against Alexander Romanov, where he was kind of getting worked on, I'm not going to lie, in the beginning of that fight. And he had to come on strong late to win that fight. And man, I counted him out. I'll be honest. I counted him out. I was, kind of buying the hype of his opponent getting skinnier and all this stuff. But no, man, Marcin is durable, man. He's a vet of the game, and tough to put out. So is Blagoy, man. It's one of those heavyweight fights where I wouldn't be surprised to see it go to decision. I think it's actually favored to go to decision, like minus 190 in a heavyweight fight. It's pretty crazy. You never really see that. But man, I'm going with Marcin here. I do like Blagoy's boxing. He does have some clean, quick boxing, but he's so low volume, and so is Tybura, honestly. Tybura is just bigger. He's going to be able to get Blagoy down, in my opinion, although it will be tough. Blagoy is, pretty, credentialed in Sambo, a good wrestler in his own right. I think he's Bulgarian. And so, yeah, man, Marcin Tybura, if he struggles to get the fight down and it turns into a 15-minute striking fight or a clinch fest along the cage, I do trust that Marcin will be able to reverse positions along the cage. He is a bigger guy. I expect him to be stronger here, where I wouldn't be surprised to see him struggle to get the smaller Ivanov down. But I think he does, man. I think he wins the decision here. Not too confident in that because neither guy is really that good. They're both gatekeepers, But yeah, man, I don't want to spend too much time on this fight. Give me Marcin Tybura to win via decision. And we are back with another setup fight, guys. In the featherweight division, we have the return of the Korean Superboy, Doohoo Choi, taking on Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson comes in as a plus 160 underdog, while the Korean Superboy comes in as a minus 190 favorite. Both guys are 31 years old, similar height and similar reach. Now, the big storyline going into this fight, guys, is the return of Korean Superboy. He's coming back from his mandatory military service in South Korea, so respect, bro. But man, that's a long layoff, man. He's been gone for, what, 3 years now? And even then, he was on a 3-fight losing streak when he left. But the thing with that, to me, is, guys, he was taking a lot of damage. He took a ton of damage in that Hall of Fame fight against Cub Swanson, one of the best fights in this division's history. He took a ton of damage against Charles Jourdain, which he was actually looking good until then. And he also took a ton of damage against Jeremy Stephens. Man, he got knocked out twice in 3 of those fights, lost the decision to Swanson, but I like the guy. He's a good, exciting fighter, good skills, really good striking, and really powerful kicks. Whereas Kyle Nelson coming off a really close fight against Ja Herbert in Europe, where I had Herbert in that fight. I did not expect it to be that close. I was actually, yeah, you can say someone impressed from Kyle, but I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not that sold on his skill set. I feel like he's kind of a mid fighter everywhere. And like I said in the beginning of the prediction, guys, this is another setup fight. I just feel like there's no way the UFC would give this guy a tough fight in his return, especially on this type of card, guys. This is a card where he actually now is playing a big role in it because they lost Korean Zombie. They lost a few other fighters they want to put on the card, where now the Korean Superboy is kind of carrying it in a way. I am a bit surprised to see the line only minus 190 for Superboy. I figured more people would be betting him and putting him in parlays, but the more you look at it, I get it. He hasn't fought in 3 years. He hasn't won in 6 years. And before the long layoff, he was on a 3-fight losing streak. Is he chinny? I don't know. What kind of Superboy are we going to get here? I will say one last thing, guys. Kyle Nelson is fighting at 145 again. He just fought his last fight against Ja Herbert at 155, so I do find it kind of interesting that he's going up and down. Maybe he took this fight thinking he can make the weight and trying to, take an advantage of an opportunity where he thought he was going to be fighting in South Korea. Fight gets moved to Vegas, and now here we are. I am going to go with Superboy here via second-round knockout. I know that's the third second-round knockout I've predicted here, but it's tough, dude, because like I said, he hasn't fought in so long, so we don't really know what we're going to get here. I do think that he's a more talented fighter, better everywhere in MMA than Kyle Nelson, so I feel confident picking him to win this fight. But as far as betting it at minus 190, man, I'll be interested to see where that line goes, but give me Doohoo Choi to win via second-round knockout. And up next, to kick off the main card, we have a welterweight fight, the people's main event, or at least the people from Eugene, Oregon. We have Yusaku Kinoshita taking on Adam Fugit. Kinoshita comes in with a 6-1 record, currently sitting as a massive minus 300 favorite. Adam Fugit comes in with an 8-3 record, currently sitting as a plus 240 underdog. A significant 12-year age gap in this fight, guys, as Kinoshita will be 22 years old and Fugit entering the octagon at 34 years old. Fugit will be 1 inch taller and have a significant 6-inch reach advantage over Kinoshita. Now, if you're a fan of the show, if you've watched this channel, you already know who I'm going to pick in this fight. Adam Fugit came on our channel and gave us an interview after he won the LFA strap after knocking out Solomon Renfro in the first round in 40 seconds. He actually gave us an interview and was super nice, man. Super cool dude. And I was excited for his future ever since then. And ever since then, I've been trying to see where he's going to go. And sure enough, ends up taking a short notice fight against Michael Morales, a straight savage in the division. And dude, he held his own. It was 1-1 going into the third, and he ended up getting knocked out. But bro, Morales is legit. He's a legit wrestler and obviously a very dangerous striker, but his wrestling is really good. And Fugit was actually able to take him down. And I think that's what he's going to need to do here to beat Kinoshita. Kinoshita, 22 years old, and if you watch this kid is a stud. Super fast, super athletic, and super powerful. This guy's a finisher. He's actually 6-1, and his only loss came via DQ. So it's not like he even really lost. He was actually pounding a guy out, stomping him actually, and he grabbed the fence. And I guess you're not allowed to do that, but I guess you're allowed to stomp the guy. And it was kind of weird watching, man. But I will say, guys, I am not impressed at all by this kid's wrestling, man. I think that Fugit knows he has a wrestling advantage in this fight, and if you watch any of his recent interviews, he's going for a finish. He's either going to go in there and get killed or be killed, or no, sorry, go for a kill or get killed, man. I'm just so jacked for this fight. I'm all nervous. But yeah, man, he's talking about how he wants to show the UFC that he's going to be in exciting fights every time, and that he actually said this. This quote caught me kind of off guard. He said that he wants to show the UFC that if he takes a guy down, that they're not going to get up. And to me, that just big red flag that he wants to get the fight down. Like, okay, good. Like, that's smart. Like, here we go. Because Kinoshita is fast and dangerous. Really fast counters. If you saw his Contender Series fight, there's just no way that you can think, okay, we're going to stand with this guy. Get this guy down and use your grappling and jiu-jitsu advantage. Fugit is an overall pretty well-rounded fighter. I will say his striking defense isn't the best. He's a little bit straight up. But dude, he has Muay Thai experience. He has a really good wrestling, collegiate wrestling, and yeah, man, Kinoshita is this guy where, like I said, setup fights. This is probably one the UFC wanted Kinoshita to win this fight. And I think Adam's gonna play spoiler. Give me full camp Adam Fugit to win the first round submission. Up next in the women's flyweight division, we have a fight between Ji-Yeon Kim and Mandy Bohm. Kim comes in with an atrocious 9-6-2 record, while Mandy Bohm comes in with a 7-2 record. Both girls are 33 years old, 5'7", with a similar reach. Now, let's get talking to the betting line. Kim comes in riding a 4-fight losing streak, finding herself as a -300 favorite. This is insane. Mandy Bohm comes in with a 2-fight losing streak, currently sitting as a +240 underdog. Now, I get it, guys. Mandy Bohm might be top 3 worst fighters on the entire UFC roster, but Kim also is fighting for her job here as well. I will say, I gotta put my hand up. She got screwed against Priscilla Cachoeira. I was actually just watching tape for Priscilla's fight that got canceled against Eubanks, and man, Kim, I thought, won that fight. Kim's volume is obviously, what she's known for. She just throws out a ton of strikes per round, and she's gonna be there all fight. Mandy Bohm, on the other hand, German Muay Thai kickboxer, that doesn't look like it. She's very slow, very loopy, whereas Kim is very straight with her punches and kicks. And I will say the one area of concern here is the grappling for Kim. I mean, I will say we haven't seen much from Mandy Bohm in that area either, but Kim, in my opinion, could have lost fairly easily if Priscilla was able to take her down more frequently. And in her last fight, Kim, she got kind of screwed as well because Jocelyn Edwards came in and had missed weight. And if you watch that fight, she was huge compared to Kim. Her thighs were like enormous. They're, but she kind of had no chance right from jump. She was getting pushed, kicked to death. And yeah, she had no answers. But I think that her volume is going to be enough to win this fight. I mean, come on. I'm not going to be betting on Mandy Bohm ever in my life. And I will say another kind of like interesting narrative in this fight is if you're from Vegas, you actually know what I'm about to say. This is a fight between Syndicate and Extreme Couture. So Kim trains at Syndicate and Mandy trains at Extreme Couture. And they're the two biggest MMA gyms here in Vegas. So I have a little rivalry match here going. So obviously, if you watch this channel, I always ride with my Syndicate fighters. I really root for them a lot. One of my homies coaches out of there, so I really try to support their fighters. But yeah, give me Kim to win via decision. I don't have faith that either girl is going to get finished. I'm pretty confident this goes to the cards. But give me Kim to win off pure volume alone. And I'm actually kind of confident in that pick because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want to bet -300 on her, but I think she's going to win. Give me Kim via decision. Up next, we have a middleweight fight between Jung Park and Denis Tiuliulin. Park comes in with a 15-5 record, currently sitting as a -200 underdog. The Russian Denis Tiuliulin comes in with an 11-6 record, currently sitting at +170. The Russian Denis will be 3 years older than Park, have a 3-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. I'm going with Park in this fight, and I already laid money on this fight. I have him in a parlay with Jung because I'm pretty confident he's going to be able to use all of his skills to beat Denis here. Denis, to me, gassed out in his UFC debut, but that was on short notice, so I do give him somewhat of a pass in that fight. Then bounce back with a good win over JB Pickett. We all know, guys, I don't want to talk bad about anyone, but Denis beat JB Pickett, and JB Pickett is going to get fed to Bo Nickel here soon. And then after he loses to Bo Nickel in one round, he's going to get cut from the UFC, in my opinion. Whereas Jung Park, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and that one loss against Gregory Robocop Rodriguez, it didn't look that bad before the knockout. And so, he came out and just smoked Holmes in his last fight. Before that, a split decision over Anders. And I like the guy, man. I like what I see from this guy. I understand he's going to be shorter here. Shorter guy is a little bit worrisome, but I do think that he has the wrestling to win this fight, to get Denis down. And even on the feet, I understand that Denis, has some pretty good striking and long, good strikes, hooks, and uppercuts to the body. But man, Jung, I think, has enough tools to win this fight, whether it be on the feet for 15 minutes or on the ground, man. I think that he's going to be able to mix both the wrestling and striking to win a decision here. I think that Park's going to be able to win this fight, and if not, finish it late. So give me Park to win via decision, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish this fight in that 3rd round. Give me Park via decision. Kicking off the card at UFC Vegas 68 will be a flyweight fight between Tatsuro, Taira, and Jesus Aguilar. Tatsuro comes in with a perfect 12-0 record, currently sitting as the biggest favorite on the card at -1100. Jesus Aguilar on the other side comes in, making his UFC debut, coming in with an 8-1 record, currently sitting as a +750 underdog. Tatsuro will be 3 years younger than Jesus here, 3 inches taller, and have an 8.5 reach advantage over Aguilar. Pretty significant, man. Jesus is going to be really small in there compared to Taira. Now, I want to start with Aguilar. So it is Dana White Contender Series fight. Honestly, man, he didn't look that good. He was kind of getting beat up the whole fight and then pulled the rabbit out of the hat with that submission win. I will say, if anything, it showed me the kid has heart. All right, he's not going to give up on himself, and he's going to be trying to win from minute 1 to the last minute. And as far as his striking goes, from what I can tell, he just throws everything into his strikes. Every hook, every punch, every kick he throws, he just wings it, man. Like, he's he telegraphs a lot, and I don't know, man. I wasn't very impressed on the feeds. Like I said, he telegraphs all of his shots and throws so much effort into those shots that he leaves himself open to be taken down a lot. A lot of opportunities are going to be there for Taira to get this fight on the map. I know Jesus has a lot of submission wins on his record, but I'm just not sold. On the other side, Tatsuro Taira, this is what you call a bona fide blue chip prospect. This guy is a stud. It's pretty wild watching this kid fight and thinking, dang, he's this fast, he's this smart, he's this young. Like, this is pretty wild. It's everything going for him in this fight, and another setup fight, guys. This is one of those fights where the UFC was like, okay, this is going to be in South Korea. Taira is going to blow the roof off the door and finish Jesus Aguilar. It's just when. When is he going to finish this fight? Because I was shocked when I saw that the over-under was at 1.5 rounds at -150. At -1100, man, I'm expecting my guy to go in there and just blast somebody. Like, go out there, not even go 5 minutes, not take any damage, and just go out and kill somebody pretty much. At -1100, should not be getting past 7.5 minutes. But I thought it was interesting that the books set it at -150. I don't know, maybe they think Jesus Aguilar has enough defensive grappling to stay alive in this fight because he's so small and it'll be hard to get down. Man, I think Tatsuro Taira is going to be all over him in this fight. It's just about when does he finish the fight. So my favorite bet for this fight is Taira inside the distance. So I'm going to be on the lookout for that prop. But yeah, man, give me Tatsuro Taira all day. And I'm going to go ahead and pick him via, let's say, let's go 3rd round rear naked choke. Let's go 3rd round submission, Tatsuro Taira. As far as the road to the UFC fights go, there's 4 fights on this card where, I'll be honest, I didn't have time to go and watch every one of these guys' fights. I only got to watch the Renan Nakamura guy. And that guy's a monster, but he's like -4 million, -500, something like that. And I just don't feel comfortable coming down here and talking about fights where I don't know much about these guys. So I will say, I want to do a shout out here. If you want to know about these 4 road to the UFC fighters, go watch Blood Money MMA on YouTube. Go watch Johnny K Picks on YouTube. Go watch Addicted to Combat on YouTube. These guys are all savages and are pretty much experts in the field, man. These guys are elite cappers. I don't view myself as a capper. I view them as cappers. I'm just a fan that sometimes wins bets. And so, yeah, man, if you want to know more about these road to the show, I did it again. Road to the UFC fights, these Asian, fighters, go watch Blood Money MMA, Johnny K Picks, and Addicted to Combat. Those guys are awesome. Be sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe on their stuff too. Those are the homies. And now it's time for the official bets for UFC Vegas 68. So far, we only have 2 bets placed. So make sure you follow us on Instagram and on Twitter so you don't miss any of our new bets. I do expect to have at least 1 or 2 more bets placed on this card before the fight start. Bet number 1, Kinoshita vs. Fugit. Under 2.5 rounds at -130 for 1.35 units. Man, I expect utter violence in this fight, and I expect it quick. Adam Fugit has had 11 professional fights, only 2 have ever gone to decision, and only 4 have ever gone to round 3. Kinoshita has had 7 professional fights, only 1 has ever reached round 3, and 0 have ever gone to decision. I think that we see either Kinoshita have a clear speed advantage on the feet, or we see Fugit have a clear advantage on the ground, both leading to finishes. I'm extremely confident that we see a finish in this fight, and I hope it comes from Adam. Bet number 2, Jung to defeat Devin Clark, and Jung Park to defeat Denis Tiuliulin. This 2-leg parlay comes out to a +112 odds, and we took this bet for 1.25 units. These guys are my most confident moneyline plays on the card, and I feel like both those odds are fair. I think both those are fair to play, whether it be straight up or on a parlay, and I feel pretty good about this parlay, man. I feel both guys are better everywhere in their fights against their opponents, and they're going to be safe anywhere the fight takes place. I think both guys have finishing ability over their opponents. But man, I'm pretty confident in this pick. I wouldn't be surprised to see either of these guys finish their opponents in their fights. And with that, guys, that'll do it. That'll wrap up our UFC Vegas 68 official prediction video. And like I said earlier, if you want more info on those road to the UFC fights and fighters, make sure you guys go subscribe to Blood Money MMA, Johnny K Picks, Addicted to Combat, and Broke Bets. Those guys are all good dudes. They all know their stuff, and we should be supporting guys like that in this community. So go ahead and go subscribe to their channels. Those guys are awesome, and they definitely know their stuff. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate all the support. And like I said, man, we're going to keep the good times rolling. We cashed big last week, and we're going to keep it going this week and the week after and the week after, because the UFC has 8 straight weeks of fights. It's going to be a good time, man. It's a good time to be a UFC fan. We have all these dope UFC fights getting announced. John Jones is coming back. Gaethje's going to die against Fiziev. It's going to be awesome. So thank you so much for hitting that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.